Oh, snap. Happy Friday, or, happy now. Welcome to Dualistic Unity Real with Jackie and Amanda. Jackie, it is a pleasure to see you. I'm glad we got to chat a little bit beforehand. You've been having a wonderful day, kicking some butt, and I love to hear it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I was just talking about how crazy it is that everybody in the community, everyone I have ever met in my life, is out there doing their own thing, doing the best they can, kicking ass, taking names, just being unique expressions of whatever we are, and all at the same time, forever, right? Like we're just out here playing our role. And it's beautiful to watch everything intertwine and like suddenly, in the same way I found that recently a lot of the pieces in my life of the puzzle have clicked together in an interesting way where I'm like, okay, I didn't see how this made sense before, but now it does. And it's cool how like relationships and connections with people can weave in and out of your life. And I don't know, just dualistic unity has really made that clear for me, is like the power of just all of us being ourselves and working together. and and just like I'm just feeling very in awe of it all and very grateful. And yeah, I've had a great day so far. This morning I was chatting with Daisy and Sophie actually from Life Unpotted, and we had an amazing conversation and just talking through like both of our journeys so far and like sort of how I found them and like where we're both at in like our journeys. And I was just resonating so deeply with them, and I it was just very fulfilling. And then coming here and having another amazing conversation with Amanda, it's just like, wow, I just feel so happy. I just feel so content with my life right now. Anywho, yeah, it's great to be here. Amanda, how are you doing this morning? You told me you, in fact, were kicking some corporate ass this morning. So I know that already, but what else is on your mind?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I definitely kicked a lot of corporate ass in terms of like invoices and accruals and budget workbooks, and oh my goodness, we went through a lot of it, but it was good, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. It never is, or, or rarely is. Outside of that, I have been purging, and I have been loving it. I have been going over, pieces of clothing, pieces of furniture, certain things around my apartment, and just having a conversation with myself about my relationship with that item, and if it's something that's useful or something that's taking up space, just in my current in my current setup. So I have been packing up my car and dumping a lot at like local donation centers, and just trash for some of it, and it has felt amazing. Oh my God. I feel like I'm shedding skin, and it feels so good. I feel like I can breathe more. And I've just been like dancing around my apartment more because, like, the dance floor has expanded and it feels incredible. But we're not done. We're almost there. Then I was starting to feel like legitimately a bit overwhelmed with how much I had to do for work, and how much I wanted to do in my apartment, and how much I wanted to do in terms of prepping for the holidays and traveling and driving, coordinating travel. And so it started to feel really overwhelming. And I pointed out something hilariously simple to myself. I was like, well, no matter if the to-do list is long or short, you can only do one thing at a time. So just do one thing right now. Like that's it, just one thing. And if you don't like doing that one thing while you're in the middle of doing it, screw it. Change it up immediately. Change it to any one thing that sticks. And it's felt good because I started to do dishes, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is not my vibe right now. And I switched, and I went to do laundry. And then I came back, and then I did the dishes, and it was like no resistance. And I wonder if it was just that I allowed myself to change my mind, if if experiencing such a quick, like fluid, like change, if it helped me see that like I can always do that. And so, you know, even if it starts to feel overwhelming, just focus on one thing right now and take it one step at a time.
Yep. For me, that one thing was paying 2 parking tickets. I got one yesterday because I forgot about the fucking street sweeping, the bane of my existence. And then I went home yesterday to my parents' house and I picked up my mail and I had another ticket in there from like October. I was like, God damn it, dude. So yeah, it's like, but I feel better now that I paid them. I'm like, all right, well, I can't do anything about it. I just got to pay them and move on with my life. And I'm satisfied with that. That's enough, okay? And yeah, but I love how you're just embracing that fluidity in your life, Amanda, where you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this right now. I'll come back to it. And that's, I think, how I function in my life. And I have judged myself for bopping around a lot. Like I'm all over the damn place. Like a lot of times I'm trying to do 4 things at once, or like I have like some things in the back of my mind that I'm thinking about for later. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to do laundry right now so that they're done by the time I have to go to work. But also like I want to go outside while it's like still the morning because I have to shower. And I'm like trying to map it all out in a way it makes sense, but most of the time, or not most of the time, it just feels a little chaotic at points. And I have judged that. I've been like, why can't I just chill the fuck out and like be methodical and write a to-do list and follow the fucking to-do list? And I never follow my to-do list, right? But recently I will like write them out. And then it's sort of like a loose reference point because I do not work in an orderly fashion like that. Like I just jump around a lot. That's how my brain just is habitually working. Whether or not that's a pattern that I could change and whether that would be a good change or not, I don't know. But that's just what I'm working with right now. And who am I to say that that's wrong? Right? Like maybe I just work in an unconventional way and my brain isn't meant for this sort of rigidity. I'm supposed to be frolicking out in the woods, maybe. Like that's what we all should be doing, or not frolicking in the woods, but like definitely not sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day, or like, yeah, trying to be serious. Like the fact that we all have resumes and like we walk around with that and we're like, yeah, look at all the things I do. I'm so cool. I'm just fucking rambling right now. But I'm vibing. I may or may not have smoked a little before this call. So
Oh, I definitely smoked a little before. I didn't need, but that's how I chose to transition from corporate kicking project management and to, you know, prepping for the call with you and going live and chatting with everyone. Speaking of everyone, hi, it's so good to see you. Definitely see some hilarious comments in the commentary, and I'm glad that you brought up the Life Unpotted uh, episode, or not, the Life Unpotted documentary, or not even documentary, podcast, because Ray was just a guest with Daisy and Sophie, and I have the link in our comments in case anybody wants to check it out. That's actually going to be one of the things that I do later today, is listen to the episode, because it's always good to see Daisy and Sophie, and just to catch up with them. I probably chatted with them a little, or definitely with Sophie a little while ago, because they're going to be coming to the California retreat. So it's going to be so amazing to see them there. I'm very excited for that. but yeah, no, just being fluid and jumping around is, it seems like that is more productive than forcing myself to go in an orderly fashion. So I definitely resonate when you said that you judge yourself for that, because I definitely judge myself for being what is it, inconsistent and scattered brained. And there's so many words that have such a negative connotation for the people that bounce around. But doing things in an orderly fashion in terms of just a bullet point list leaves you no flexibility. And without that, you're gonna be resentful a little bit, or at least I know I felt that way. So I definitely have felt more productive. And maybe that's just an assumption on my part, but I feel more productive when I allow myself the ability to just switch effortlessly. And and then there are times where, maybe we stick it out for a little bit longer, and I'll like negotiate with myself a little bit. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this for like 30 more minutes, like 30 more minutes, and then we will switch. And then I do, because it's important to take those breaks. It's important to switch things off. But um sometimes you push through because you're like so close. And usually that's when I find myself wanting to either take like a quick break, and if I do, then that's okay. But usually if I push through like another 20 minutes, then I can just like wrap it up if we're so close. Like taking a break right when you're about to finish is either really awesome or really dangerous. So I usually just push through that. But I am so excited to relax this weekend because we have been working extremely hard for weeks. And I know you can resonate with that, just finishing up yoga teacher training. So my end of the year goals are to do less, to relax more, and to sleep in, go to bed early, maybe do some self-care nights, bubble baths and face masks and maybe a hair treatment and brownies, because that's just, I include that in my self-care routine.
I am right there with you. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
We got to
And
recharge.
yeah, and it's like, even though I know I wanna rest, my brain won't shut the fuck up. And it's like I have so many thoughts and ideas that are coming to the surface now that I'm like at this point with yoga where I'm gonna start going for it, like we gotta start making videos and promoting myself and starting to teach more often. And so I'm feeling this creative surge of energy, but at the same time, my body is just so tired. And I know I've done so much already. And I, so I'm just going to let myself dream a little bit, maybe, like, maybe just like let the ideas marinate in there. And like, I, and start like thinking about it, but not forcing myself to get started right away because I'm not in a rush and I deserve to have times of rest. It's it's okay to sit back and be like, okay, that's enough pushing for now. That's life. It's a cycle of leaning in and then sitting back, participating and then resting. Like if you think about just the seasons in and of themselves, there's seasons of like energy in the summer and then rest and decay and death and rebirth and then rebirth. It's a cycle that we all go through. And I think at the end of the year is just a time where a lot of people are feeling that like we've gone through, like if you're in school, you just finished your first semester and you're like, okay, that was a lot. Let me take a breather. And then we'll go back, round two. But it's in sorry, my that anywho, it's just that it's legit. And you think of even inhales and exhales, like it's the same sort of fluctuation. And I think I'm trying to just like my ego wants me to always be at a high, like always have enough energy to be creating and like working as hard as I can. But yeah, my ego really doesn't like the periods of rest, but I think I do need a little bit more relaxation in my life. Although it does feel like on an everyday basis, I'm just more relaxed. So maybe I don't need to take as long of breaks. And I have noticed also, like if I do want to push it a little too far and like really push myself and see what I can do to the point of exhaustion, like that's okay as well. If I'm feeling like I want to do that, you know, within reason, I'm still going to sleep, but like if I want to grind for a little bit, I can do that too, right? And so it's just negotiating that space where there's not a right way to live or a wrong way to live. It's just how you want to live. And that can be tough to really figure out how you want to live.
Oh my God, yes. It is, and I certainly have made the habit. I definitely have a tendency to like see, is the line here or here? And I feel like I'm just like an unruly toddler in my head that's like, no, 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 we can keep going. The line wasn't there. That's not what we meant. We meant over here. We absolutely meant over here. And then we get there. It's like, no, no, no. We didn't say absolutely here. We just pointed in a general area. And I just feel like it's so unruly. It just wants to keep going. You're right. The mind just wants to keep going, but it also has paid the price for that, and so the price just is starting to feel like it's getting higher and higher, just pushing yourself past the brink. And so just with that experience, you just naturally get better. You develop a sensitivity. Oh snap! I need to put my sounds down. I have my
I
sound.
had to Yeah, I had to mute Discord at the beginning of the call because I heard it go off and I'm like, "Not again, bitch. You're not speaking in."
I love it. I love that people are watching us pivot. We're adapting, people. We are not letting things stick to us. It's like whether I'm tripping up an explanation or notification, I'm just like, that's all right. Watch me. We're gonna work with it. We're gonna work with it because it's here. And so you make the most of what's here. And here, when I have pushed myself over and over that limit, I'm developing a sensitivity without even trying to, because it's like I feel that nervousness of like, oh wait, why do I feel nervous around this area closer to the line? It's like, oh, because I know what happens when we run too fast. So it's almost like it's just built in, and I appreciate that more and more. And so it's and finding fun ways to maybe focus on something else. Like I want to push myself, but then it's like, oh, well, then how about we push ourselves and do something that's maybe just out of the ordinary or a little uncomfortable. I have picked up reading again, so I'm going to be doing a lot of reading over the Christmas holiday, and I haven't read for pure pleasure in like a few months. It hasn't been too long, but like it's definitely been months. It may be 6 months at least. And so I'm very excited to like curl up with a book, and that feels like that's rejuvenating, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not spending any other money besides maybe to buy the book. Or I go to the library. I love going to the library and picking out books for free there. And you can make a request. Some people don't know that you can ask the librarian to make a request for a certain book. And if enough people want that book, they'll order it for the library. It's within reason of their budget, but it's like find the ways to work the system so that you can enjoy more for less. And I was reading an article the other day, and it was talking about how college is an experience that the environment is really built for humans. Like it's one of the rare places in modern day where you can walk to your job, to your housing, to laundry, to food, the cafeteria that's right on campus. It's like it's one of the rare places in modern society where you can walk to everything within such a short distance. Because now when you're out of that college environment, it takes you 4 hours to go meet someone for lunch. If let's say the drive is like 45 minutes, and then you're going to hang out with them for like an hour, and then you're going to drive back for another 45 minutes. So it feels like you're spending so much time to get ready, to drive, to do all that. And but if you were on a college campus, you could visit a friend, go to the cafeteria and eat, Maybe go to the gym that's on campus and make it back to your dorm room in like an hour and a half. So it's just like you could do so much more in such a small space. And it's because that environment is really built for humans to interact and connect with each other. And in other places, you have to put in so much work to do anything.
That's so true. I miss my college town a little bit because it really did feel fulfilling. Like college was a grind for sure, but like yeah, living in such close proximity too with a lot of peers is that was so cool. And yeah, we don't experience tight-knit community like that really nowadays. Like it's really just family units operating separately from one another. And that's kind of probably why we all feel so lonely. Like that's why there's such a emphasis on romantic partnership because we're not having our social needs met. Like our we're not like we don't we evolved in community, right? And now it's a little bit harder to find. And there are exceptions to that rule, like the dualistic unity community. Like we're an online community, whatever, but also like it's transcends the physical limitations that we're under because otherwise I'm like I'm not sure how many people I would be able to talk to about these things in my immediate vicinity. And maybe though, like having this community online makes me less likely to talk to people about this in my physical environment because I'm like, oh, okay, well, I have a place to talk about it, so I don't have to like annoy everybody or around me in my life with my incessant questioning. But maybe they wouldn't find it that annoying. And maybe it would be good if I annoyed them with it more, you know? So it's funny. It's like, I can't say if this situation is better or worse, but I can say that I'm enjoying myself considering the circumstances. Because I don't know. I do think that is something that we're missing in society a lot right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the points that the article was bringing up about, just that ease of connection. It was everyone was within such a close proximity, even and colleges are full of people from, various ages and demographics and backgrounds. And so you had this rich, diverse community and everybody was in a walkable distance. Everything was within a walkable distance. And it felt like that was more, friendly to the human experience. So I know I'm like reading the comments and they're hilarious. you know, there's a lot of excitement about learning in the comments, and I really love that. Education is important, everyone. We're always learning. And then you apply those lessons with enthusiasm and vigor. Oh my goodness. But no, but I love that because it's just it was so easy. And it was different than high school, right? Where you were seeing the same group of people for the most part every day, all year, and only like a few months break, but then usually you reconnected with that same peer group. But in college, you're managing your own time and in such a new way, and you are sometimes working at the gym as a student who's working off their college debt. And so you're maintaining a job, your education, you're going to the gym, you're working out, you're going to the book club, you're going to the library. Everything is all packed into that one campus area, and it's so fluid. And the way that we design cities, though, it's not for humans. It's The article was saying that they design cities for businesses and vehicles, but they don't actually design cities for humans. And I'm like, that makes, I mean, I get what they meant, but I'm like, how do we do this kind of shit? Like, that makes no sense. We design our cities for everything but the human who's living in it. Like, we treat each other, or like a Like it's such an expendable thing, and we're the gasoline that keeps all this going. So it's not like there isn't inherent value in humans and people and the human experience, and yet it gets treated in so many ways like it's just meaningless. But just being able to, recognize that and then try to move differently, because unless we're all gonna like straight up like scrap this and start over, it's like it's gonna be finding different ways to make this work. Like there's a company in Detroit that is collecting like food scraps and other recyclables from restaurants in the Detroit area. And I think it's dirt, like dirt by Detroit or dirt in Detroit or something like that. I'll get the link. And this woman, I think her name is Destiny, and I fucking love that. So she decides to like reach out to these businesses and these restaurants, and she's collecting their food waste, and she's making compost, she's making dirt, and then selling that for profit. And so she's like tackling a little bit of the waste problem. And so I love when I hear stories about that, where people are making the most of a city that wasn't designed for them.
Yeah, like work working against the system from within, or like using the system against itself. But it's not even that. It's just like embodying the change that you want to see and like figuring out a way to make it work. And that's what dualistic unity is. Like we're sustaining ourselves, I guess. Well, not me, but Andrew and Ray are sustaining themselves based off like literally the community support and also ads. Like we're using these advertisers to talk about how to fuel the conversation about how you don't need anything, right? Like so it's funny, and you can create little pockets of awareness, and I think that's how change happens. This is change actively happening, and maybe one day things will be different on a larger level, and we'll be able to live in close knit communities in a modern world, and we'll find a balance between industrialization and profit and comfort, and on the other end of the spectrum of you don't need any of that, like that shit's not actually fulfilling. Living in uncertainty, accepting uncertainty, and becoming more aware of just the unity and the role that we all play in maintaining that balance, and more of an appreciation also for everyone around us and our impact on them. So we're not just thoughtlessly consuming and climbing the corporate ladder just because we think that's what we need to do. That's the only possible way to be fulfilled, is to have the most. Like that's a losing game for sure. Like, because you're right, we're sacrificing and we're sort of treating our human experience as a means to an end of just getting more shit. So it's insane. So the more that we take back our each of our moments right now, this is mine. Get your little corporate hands off of it. You know what I mean? Like you can't you can't take
Greasy little fingers. I'm just kidding.
get your slimy little fingers off. This is my moment.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, thinking about doing crazy things with a group of friends, like, you could buy an island, you could start a bank, you could like there are so many, you could start an insurance company, like there are so many different things. You can start an LLC and purchase your next house through that LLC and then pay less on personal taxes. Like there's there's just there are so many ways that you can learn to, work the system, as best as possible, and brainstorming together with other people. Like, we have such a mentality, and at least in the US, from my perspective, of like, I have to figure it out by myself. I've got to find a way, and only I can be there. It's like, I'm not looking for this lonely at the top kind of end goal. Like, lonely at the top, I have enough money, I have enough land, I have enough space, like, and no one else does, and that's winning. No, that's not a victory in my opinion if I'm the only one at the end crossing the finish line. So it's like talking with your friends, talking with members of the DU community, just connecting with people and brainstorming, what have they been thinking, what are some of the things that they have dreamed about, certain goals or visions they had. When I was younger, I wanted to be the dean of a university. I wanted to like run a whole school. And so, because I loved learning, and I loved just that whole process of finding a new topic or exploring it, and learning more about it, and experimenting and creating theories, and then researching it and finding evidence. And then, like, oh my goodness, I freaking loved the learning process. And so I thought, I wanted to own a school or to run a school, because I saw how the public education and even the private education system is not geared towards really fostering that curiosity and that love of learning, but just kind of, using it as a education and learning as a means to an end, to get the degree, to get the money, to get the title, all that. And I thought, I was like, I need to create a new school. And it's like, do I though? If I can create space and maybe find out ways that, I can make information more accessible, or maybe organize it and then have that, share that online for free, or just being a sounding board. Anybody who's hung out with me, if you say something around me that like sounds like an idea and I'm curious, I'll start to ask questions. And then I might, file that in the back of my head. And then I might end up like thinking about it later. And then I might email you or call you like, hey, what's the last time you thought about that? Because I thought you might be able to do this, this, and this. And I love it. And then I'm like, all right, I gotta go. Bye. Like, and it seems almost crazy that I research like maybe someone else's idea. I bring it back to them. I just share that information. I share my excitement for where I thought their idea was coming from and where I think you could take it. And then I leave them with it, because I love that I don't have to do everything. I love that there are people out there and they're going to have these magnificent ideas. And if I can help like water that idea, and then they're the main gardener, I hope that thing grows to unbelievable heights.
Yeah. And that's a freeing sort of perspective to have on it too, where it's like, I don't have to do the work. I don't have to tell you how to live your life right, because I don't know. Only you do. And I know what questions to ask because I've asked them of myself. I feel like I'm speaking as you at this point. Like, I'm like, as Amanda has asked herself the questions that have allowed her to push herself beyond what she previously thought that she could do. And then she could just use that perspective in conversation with everyone and everything around her. And she's just like a mirror that reflects her perspective or her context back at them. And that's not in a way of like, yeah, you should do this, but like, this is my perspective, this is what I've experienced, and have you thought about this maybe? Or like, maybe you could use Chat GPT and like make that shit way
Oh my
easier.
God, I love a good brainstorming session. There is nothing like having like a mad scientist at 3 in the morning, hair's all crazy, or things are like, papers are like, there's like a paper that's like stuck to you. You're like looking at something, you're like on the floor with a magnifying glass, like all types of crazy. Like, I love a great brainstorming session. It's because in that moment, it feels like we're swimming in potential together, and we're just thinking of ideas, and we don't need any idea to stick. We're just churning out idea after idea after idea, and it's fucking electric. I love a good brainstorming session.
Yeah, because it's just becoming aware of all the potential. And like, you don't even, and that's just what you can access through thought, theoretically. It's just, but you can think of anything. it's just a brainstorm. It doesn't really matter what you can come up with dumb ideas. You can come up with just getting things out because you can create without for me that's the big block is that I want everything I create to be good. Like so I struggle sometimes to just throw shit out. You have a pen board with strings drawn from picture to picture with your hair looking like you were electrocuted. I can totally see this image in my head.
Exactly.
That's Amanda at 3 a.m. Like in the middle of a project that she just thought of at 1 a.m. Like gathering all the evidence. I completely forgot what I was talking about before that, but
Oh my God.
it's cool. Yeah, there's just so much fucking potential. And
Yeah.
the more you let go of the idea of yourself and what you are and what you should be and what you're capable of and you you embrace the uncertainty of just your being, then more options come on the table. And then the brainstorming can be more fun and less judgmental. And that's just a process of doing it over and over and just like doing shit regardless of the fear of the feeling telling you that you're not doing it right or you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Just the inner critic, you know, like the less you listen to it, the more soft it becomes. And sometimes it gets loud again. And that's just a process, you know, like change isn't going to happen instantly. But the more that you're willing to push your boundaries, the more that you realize you have no boundaries.
Mm-mm.
And that the more you're willing to explore, the more you'll find because this experience is infinitely complex and deep. No matter how, like, literally in any direction you go, there's infinite depth, pretty much.
Mhm, mhm,
And there's so much out here for us to explore.
mhm,
And it's just about following that curiosity or just that natural inclination. And there's no right way to navigate your life in a way that's going to be fulfilling. But if you allow every moment to be what it is and allow it to unfold as it does and do your best to suspend your judgment or like see through that and just keep going,
mhm.
like it all just will kind of unfold the way it's supposed to. Or
Yeah.
it's not even that it's supposed to there, because that doesn't matter. It's just I'm reminded over and over that it's all perfect. Like it's fucking perfect.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. Like my life is like, oh my god. Like I look at my friends sometimes and I'm like, what the fuck? I get tripped out a little bit. I'm like, I just love you so much. And like it's not even you, it's just like this
Life.
moment.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. And I just want to say thank you. Like I just want to say thank you, but thank you isn't even right.
I know
I've
it's
been
because it's not.
struggling to find
Yeah.
because well, for context, freaking y'all mailed me a book and I'm so excited to read this. And I was like, I mean, y'all have done so much for me already and I'm like just so grateful, but it's I understand at the same time like you're doing it for your own reasons and like any enjoyment or any appreciation I'm getting from you guys is like on me, I guess, but it's also like mm, I want to express my love for just how everything is working out, but I don't know how to say it
You
in
don't
a
have.
way that is can be communicated. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, just having fun. You having fun when you say it, but what I love when I'm at this moment, what I love the most about relationships are all the things that aren't said, that don't need to be said. You know, so much of a relationship is unspoken because you are love. you add so much, when I think of you specifically, Jacqueline, you add so much to my life, and I know that Andrew and Ray feel the same way. It's like you are the gift. It's like you are the potential embodied. You are the love, and so you add so much just by being you. And so we are love in that same way. We reflect love and appreciation back towards each other. And so it's very much, with what we do matters more than what we say, and that's why they say, an action, you know actions speak volumes, and silence speak volumes, because it's all the emotions contained, all the emotions that are felt and embodied, that just could never be conveyed with words. But have fun, make an attempt, just, I love playing with words. And but it's always where they're coming from that matters the most. And you can really feel it when someone is trying to express something that feels so grand and so marvelous that they're grasping at words to kind of wrap up all that wonder. And I applaud them. And I'm like, yes, like, it's just you do it just because you're like, fuck it, I want to try anyways. I know I'm not going to be able to convey it, but I feel so much of this emotion that I say, to hell with it. Logic be damned, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying
Why not?
because I just feel this need to like
I feel the appreciation. I
like,
do.
like you get the vibe. I know you feel me.
Yeah.
It's just like I
Yeah.
want to hug myself. I want to hug myself as the whole world.
Oh my God, yes. A good self hug. Oh my God, I didn't even start self hugging myself until in like my mid 20s, and I'm like, years of not self hugging. I was like, I thought that I had to. I like another person was required for a hug. I'm like, says who? We've got two working arms right here, full of love. Wrap them around me, and yet.
Yeah.
I do love it. And it feels so good, because I have hugged myself, like when I was sad, or when I was happy, or just over the moon, or when I was picturing someone and then hugging myself, and like, and and somehow it feels like they might actually feel it. And it's like, well, why couldn't they? We're all connected. Science has already proven that there's no separation. That's
Mhm.
purely perception. So when I hug myself, I am hugging you, and vice versa. And the love is felt and said and heard and appreciated.
Mhm. I was gonna say for anyone watching to give themselves a hug, but you can if you want to. I'm already giving you one
That's
as me.
right.
So, no, this feels really nice.
It does. The Friday feel goods, all right? It just a little, a little love goes a long way, when it's
Yeah.
free from attachment. And I love that love made its return visit, because we were just talking about love earlier this week, about love
Yeah.
and attachment, and how easy it is to confuse the two.
Yeah. Just thinking about touch specifically, I that was a journey I went on during my yoga teacher training as well, because that is something that I'm uncomfortable with just in general, because I feel like touch for me has always been associated with need, or like it's been inherently sexual or something like that. But like healing touch is something that I believe has like profound benefits, and it's like so good for us, and like we want
Yeah.
touch so badly. And I think it literally, like, literally if babies are sick and they're like held by their mother, it helps them heal. And like
Hmm.
touch is you can't convey how it makes you feel, but it just makes you feel like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, this universe maybe isn't so cruel. I don't know.
Right.
It's something in yoga too. It's very like they do like hands-on adjustments, or sometimes like the instructor will like give you a massage in a certain pose, or like help you stretch. And for me, like, I love receiving that touch in class, and it doesn't feel weird necessarily depending on who
I
it
was
is.
gonna say that
Like,
is case by case basis.
yes, but, like, I feel deeply uncomfortable being the person touching, and so, like, I don't know, that was something I had to confront a little bit, and,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
learning to untie that association, because I don't think it needs to be tainted with expectation and
Indeed. Yeah.
weight, or, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, any sort of need,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's just how it is in it has been in my mind for most of my life, so,
Mhm.
like, it does feel good to, like, be more comfortable with touch with other people, but I think that also is something that you have to be more comfortable with yourself, like, you have to be like, "Okay, there's nothing wrong with this,"
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
So
you learned
self-hugs
that
are
early.
good, and I love, like, putting my hands on my heart, or, like, one on my heart, one on my belly, or, like,
Mm.
when I'm having cramps, I love just, like, putting my hands over my stomach, like, over my
Mhm.
uterus, and, like, just holding it, and I feel like it's healing, like, I feel like it's doing something.
Who says it's not? The placebo effect is real, man. That it's
Yes.
like, oh, the power of the imagination. Oh my goodness, I freaking love that. And when it comes to like our relationship with touch on an individual level, generally I see that you learn that early on. There are some families who are big on hugs and touching, and some families who are not. And so it's not surprising that the kids that grow up in those households, depending on where they lean, tend to be like their environment. They tend to reflect what's given the seal of approval that it's okay to do. Um but I have definitely loved winning people over because I am absolutely a hugger, and I always make that disclaimer. But I was like, I'm a hugger. Um, but I always like to make sure that if someone is not, I'm like, okay, no worries, but the offer's always on the table. So you let me know. You let me know. But the thing too is also that it's important to know for the people that, maybe don't want to give a hug. You can always rescind that. Just because you give someone a hug doesn't mean that they're always able to have access to your body. They don't always have access to hug you. It's you give permission every single time. And so I ask for consent every single time, unless I know that they have a tendency to be a hugger as well. And then the minute that we see each other, it's like hugging. There was somebody when I used to work in the office years ago, someone that worked in a different department, but on the same floor as me. And we had an agreement that like anytime we saw each other, we would hug. And so I was getting like 10, 12 hugs a day. It was amazing. I'd see her in the break room and I'd be like, oh my God, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. And just like, you just saw me 5 minutes ago. I was like, you're taking all the romance out of it. And I didn't mean like romance in terms of like, we were lovers, but just like the romance of like a playful hug, and I love to be dramatic and theatrical. So of course that's my go-to response. And then she's laughing and joking, and it was like our teasing thing, because I was always super enthusiastic about seeing her. And she was a great coworker and a great friend, and it was so good to be able to have that informal like injection like 12 times a day. So when I would go back to my like soulless cubicle, I would feel super rejuvenated. And I'm like bouncing in my chair and I'm like click clack click clack click clack, and like I am just rejuvenated. And I'm like, I just saw my buddy, when I went to go get more water or something, or I went to go put my lunchbox away, and then I see her, and then we'll chat for a minute or so, and then I'm like, all right, I got to get back to work. They don't pay me to have this much fun, and I'd be on my way. And so I was always cracking jokes and having fun. But the touch is needed, but I think it's just that intimacy, and so we associate that intimacy with touch so often. But you can feel that intimacy with people that don't hug, and I definitely feel very close to those people who are not huggers. And it taught me that hugging or touching isn't the only way. It's just one way that you can express a connection with someone, but that the intimacy and the connection is intangible, and yet you still feel it even when you're not technically hugging them 12 times a day. But that's on the extreme, of course.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely not implying that touch is something that everyone should feel uniformly comfortable with or whatever,
Right.
you know, like sometimes I just don't want to be touched at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
But
Same.
so yeah, it's not like you can say you're a person who likes touch in
No,
general all the
right?
time because it's like it's not always going to be that way. And I think we should empower ourselves to also say no when we usually are okay with it, but like today we just like I don't.
Yeah. I just can't really know. It's so true. It's so true. You have to give
Yeah.
yourself permission to change your mind at any point because it's your life. You're, especially when you're an adult, you're in charge. Like you're the adult now. And oh my goodness, I definitely told myself that when, I was doing like what was called like inner child work. And it was like talking to myself and just saying like, it's okay. We're in charge now. Like we're the adult now. We're the ones who say yes or no, and we, so we don't have to be as afraid anymore because it's not like we're helpless in the way that we used to be when we were a kid. Now we're the grown up.
Yeah. Decisions aren't being made for me, so I have to make them all myself now, which is at once daunting, but it's also like, okay, well, now I can make this into whatever I want, which is really fucking cool. And in terms of touch, though, I'm like, I think touch was something that I used to really love, and then it like got this like heavy negative connotation, just like a
Yeah.
lot of like, things that have happened too in my life, like instances that made me really uncomfortable
Yeah.
and then are now associated with things like that. And it's like it's tied a lot to just like distrust of the world and of things. And I think a healthy amount of skepticism and like self-preservation, I think, is probably for the best. But um like I when it's taking over and it's like getting in the way of like my ability to connect with people, then
Yeah.
I'm like, I think it's worthwhile to like, even if I'm uncomfortable with something, like opening myself up just a little bit, just to like see that there's nothing wrong with touch, or just like it could be anything in life, like anything that we're not comfortable with. It's good to not ignore your instincts about something, but like call your bluff if you know that you're just if you're aware that the way that you feel is tied to a specific situation, or like if you know it's just fear that's blocking you in that case,
Hmm.
it's okay to like go the uncomfortable route.
Hmm.
But there is balance in that. Like you shouldn't there's no point in going against your instincts too, because at the end of the day this comes down to your experience, and if something is going to dramatically like negatively impact your experience or like positively impact your experience and you just don't want that like ripple, that's okay. Like you don't
Yeah.
need that. Like you're in the control seat, like your
Yeah.
experience really comes down to what you want to experience, and
Hmm.
you're the parent, like you can't let your child do everything it wants.
No.
Like,
No.
and sometimes you have to make yourself eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
And so it's like at once you're trying to push yourself, but also take care of yourself and know that like,
Yeah.
it's a process of learning and developing your balance.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Yeah, because there are so many examples in our culture where they're confirming that like we want connection, we want touch. I mean, you can hire, let's say, someone to be, your date for a wedding, but it's like you you accomplish the goal of appearing to be maybe desirable or appearing to be valuable or having somebody that's interested in you, but you're not addressing why maybe that's not something that's just happening organically, because as much as I have wanted to be with somebody when I was single, it was it never happened when I was hoping for it. It's always when I let it go, when I wasn't being needy, that somebody just like bloop, dropped into my lap, and I was like, where the hell did you come from? Like, and it's always like that. So it's like, so even if you're not, let's say you are the hugger, or you have a tendency to like hugging, or to like touch, or to like relationships, and you're not in one now, it's like, instead of thinking that that's something to just like a goal, we got to accomplish it, we've got to find someone, we've got to find someone to either touch or to love, right? Or both, if you're lucky. and instead it's like, well, why isn't my environment just naturally like that? And it's so funny how we can do that so easily for like our physical environment. You're like, okay, my desk area at home jam packed with like containers of like pens, and like a stack of notebooks, and like seven little like little tape dispensers, and like a stapler, and it was just so congested, and I didn't want to work there. Unsurprisingly, I did not want to work in my work area. And I was chatting with a friend, and she makes the suggestion, like, maybe you should just, you've got a lot of space in your closet, you've been purging a lot, could you like store some of your stuff in your closet? I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I've been wondering why I don't like to work in my at home work area, and it's because it's not conducive, it's not organically a space that work can just happen. And so it's so easy for me to see that, or for people to see that, but it's not as easy for them to see that the way that their life is currently unfolding is just not organically giving them something that they think should be there, whether that's a different job, or or a partner, or maybe more friends. I've been hearing that a lot lately, that people have been saying, that it's hard to make friends when you're an adult. And it's like, I relate to that greatly, but how good are you? How, what kind of friend are you? Because are you expecting somebody to just be there when you want them there? Because that doesn't really sound like a friend. That sounds like you want a servant or an assistant. Like, if that's what, like, so, but if you are going to, things that call, that you have interest in, like maybe you're into mini golf, maybe you're into museums, maybe you're into hiking, and you're just naturally doing those things, and your life organically is just producing those connections. And so you meet someone on the mountain, and they make a comment about your hiking boots, or your lack of hiking boots, or maybe you're walking up the mountain barefoot. I saw a woman doing that the other day, and I stopped, and I was like, oh my God, you're walking up the mountain barefoot. She's like, yeah, I'm grounding. I was like, no, I knew what you were doing, but I'm like, of course, that's brilliant. I think I'm hiking. I need to hike with hiking boots. No, I could have hiked up every mountain barefoot this whole time, So it was just like stopping to have a conversation, so it wasn't like I woke up that day and I was like, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to meet a barefoot woman today, you know and if I don't meet this barefoot woman, I need to order her. I need to order her right away. She's got to get here. It's like, well, is my life just in is it my life unfolding in a way that I just naturally would meet anyone, with shoes or not? And so, like, thinking about my workspace, it's easy to be like, okay, I'm going to move this stuff, and I'm going to want to work there more. But it's not as seamless to transition that same line of thinking to, I want to make more friends. Well, is my life in a place that's fertile for friendships to be made?
Yeah. And is it too much to say, if you need friends, you're a needy friend? Is that too far? Because
You're
I
onto
don't know.
something.
I really don't know if it is. Because, yeah, exactly right. Like, if you're just waiting around for the friends to drop into your lap, because you're supposed to have friends, right? The universe knows that. The universe, you asked for them. Why? Like, maybe their shipping isn't as fast as Amazon or something, but like, they should be on the way. And until they're here, I'm not going to do shit,
Right.
because I deserve to have friends. And yeah, it could be like that with any situation.
Hmm.
We can have that situation where we feel like even with like motivation, like we need motivation before we act.
Hmm.
But really, no, it's about embodying embodying that change that you want to see, or like
being space for change.
Yeah, being space. Yeah. So like with motivation, it's a little different because it's like, okay, you have to just be that change. But like, if you want people to hold space for you, go out there, explore the world, be space for yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you run across people, be space for them and don't expect anything out of them because friendship out of need isn't genuine friendship. It's
Mm-mm.
just need. It's a transactional relationship where you're both filling a role for each other. And if you stop filling that role, the other person will have an issue with it and they maybe won't want to be your friend anymore. As if like friendship is something that's like a committed relationship. Like it's just two people hanging out,
Yeah.
experiencing one another, and then they're like, we create this conceptual framework around it that we call a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where we get off the same page because now we're operating in ideas. But
Good
like,
friends versus bad friends.
yeah. And you can just the less that you need friends, the better friend that you are. So like maybe not necessarily you'll have a ton of friends because I don't think also like me personally, I cannot handle having a lot of friends because I mean I can, but just not like close friendships. But um yeah, it's like the less that you need somebody, it's funny that all of a sudden they're there.
Yeah.
And I've found that with relationships as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm if I'm like searching desperately, I'm not focusing on myself and I'm not I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, like I'm not giving off good energy. Like I'm
Yeah.
not being the type of person that I want to be around, right? So like letting go of that is what has always led to coincidentally it coming along, but either way, if it did or not, I would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be fine for the rest of my life I if I'm alone. Quite frankly. I am alone already, so it doesn't really change much, but
Oh yeah.
like that's something I've had to become okay with recently because I guess there was still part of myself that was clinging on to like the hope of an eventual like partnership that's forever, right? And like
Yeah.
marriage to me is like it doesn't really make sense anymore, and so it's like okay, yeah, I would be okay if I was alone forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big thing just because we're all that's beaten to all of our heads, right? That like
Yeah.
we need to find love and like that's the point of life. And but I think it's especially for women, like for women, like it's like it's implied almost that it's our purpose to be
A
something for
partner.
somebody else, you know, a partner, a wife, a mother, and
Mm-hmm.
a caretaker. And like we're the ones that have to like that's our community and family is like our reason for existing. And whereas men, it's like they can go do things, right? Like they can have a career. And like obviously that is not the case. Like
No.
I can be a woman and have a career or just like enjoy my being. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to be deeply unsatisfied
Mm-hmm.
what if I don't have a family. And there are certain men on the internet that are like, yeah, but she just won't admit it to herself. Like all these childless women out there or like
Mm-hmm.
single women are deeply unsatisfied deep down. And I just think that's hilarious because first of all, you're how would you know that? And second of all, like you're
Yeah.
just mad because like when people aren't as needy, they're harder to control.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know
but
how I got here, but
Yeah. But we're so many things, you know, we're so much more than just a partner for someone else. And for men, you know, you're so much more than just a provider. And so, you know, in the comments you're saying, you know, a career to provide for other people, a career so that a woman finds men desirable, you know, because if not, they're worthless, they're deadbeats. And it's like you are so much more than just a provider. Because if we're talking about being providers, every adult is a provider for themselves, you know, and they're not just a partner, and they're not just a career, you know, person, or whatever they are, whether they're electrician or plumber or whatever it may be. You're not just that. And it's like, oh, you have to have a family. It's like, I have a family. I literally came from a family. So what is this? I have to make another one? Like what's going on here? I thought, like, I literally came from a family. I didn't just like just come out of nowhere and just appeared with, you know, just ready to work in this economy. Just like, no way, man. And I am a sister, I am a daughter, I am a friend, I am a team member, you know, I am so much more already. And so, yeah, if I wanted to, I could add the role of mother and wife. I absolutely could, but my plate is full as is. We are not just like aimlessly wandering, you know, and until you have a job and you provide for a family, if you're the man, like your life is meaningless. Like, no, your life is meaningful because you add all the meaning to it. And the same is true for all of us. And so, you know, I have met plenty of people that feel alone in their relationships. And that is heartbreaking. And I have felt that firsthand. And it's so crazy. I read this somewhere, and it was like, people tend to shout when there's more mental distance. Because I noticed that, like, if two people are having what could be labeled a heated conversation about, you know, a sensitive topic, you know, they have a tendency to get louder. And I wonder if that's exactly the case, if they're getting louder because the thoughts is creating a bigger gap between these two people, and so they're trying to shout over that mental canyon, you know. But because usually if I feel incredibly close to someone, I never think of shouting, and they feel so close, so I'm almost whispering sometimes. But when I have felt like I needed to prove something about myself, I needed to convince a partner, and I was thinking of all the things that I needed to tell them, all the things that I need to convince them of, it's like I was creating this mental huge this huge mental gap. And then I'm like shouting to like shout over the mental space, not realizing that I could just stop making more of it. And so it feels incredibly trippy when I read those words by, I don't know who said it or how they said it, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, oh my God. I did shout when there was like more mental space. Like I did try to fill the mental space with words, with volume.
It deeply resonates. And I think that really hits home because we all want to feel like there's this desperation to be like seen or understood by like, or like to communicate ourselves and what we're feeling to the people that we love or like the people around us. And it's funny that like when we realize that we can't bridge that gap fully, it's like we know that any sort of concept around this relationship or whatever is not the reality of what it is, then we can actually be closer with somebody. But like, I think we enter into a relationship and immediately the commitment comes in, and then there's expectation about what that is. And the more you go along, like, and you have all these different assumptions about the other person and why they did something, or what they said and what that meant about you. And
Mhm.
like it becomes this whole jumbled mess where like you're in two separate relationships,
Yeah.
but you're in the same relationship. And that mental space, the mental gap gets super wide. And it didn't have to be that way, but like I think I think trying to cling on to certainty and security and like stability within something like a relationship is what dooms it, because that doesn't exist, and like you're setting yourself up for the eventual collapse. It's like you're building this the relationship on top of like in front of like on quicksand, because like that's what like we're constantly changing and like churning, and so of course that relationship is going to collapse, but like you don't have to build anything. It could just be you two existing in the same vicinity,
Mhm.
and with that, with less conceptual framework, less ideas about how you should be treating them, like how the relationship will evolve, like it might make it easier for it to last because it's functioning within reality,
Yeah.
an awareness of uncertainty. But like that's not what we want in a relationship. Like we want security, stability, certainty, but
Make me feel better.
we want some we want the guarantee that somebody will be there to make us feel better, hold us when we're crying, because they have to, god damn it. They said they would.
I know.
Right? And that can't change, and it's tough, but admitting that actually makes shit easier,
Yeah.
even though it permanently takes the imaginary idea of happily ever after off the table, right? Because it's like, okay, that doesn't exist, so I'm going to stop looking for it. I'm going to stop trying to make every single situation in my life into this idea of what I think it should be,
Mhm.
because I think this is how my life should go,
Mhm.
because I should feel good and get what I want all the time. Like no,
Yeah.
that it sounds silly when we like lay it out like that that's how our frame of mind is. Like we're
Yeah.
constantly trying to get what we want. We're constantly trying to feel good. And when we feel bad, we like judge ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? You think you're in control? Like, please sit down, girl. Like,
I know. I have felt such love from certain friends and family members who like straight up like saw me having like a mental breakdown that wasn't really necessary. And they're like, stop being such a whiny little brat. And like it stung at first. And then I remember laughing because I'm just like, oh my God, I am being a whiny little brat. Like and then like just admitting that I'm just like, okay, all right, well, I don't like playing this game anymore. I don't want to play the whiny little brat game. I want to switch it up. Like let's play the badass kicking through walls game. I like that. Let's play that game now. And then I taking making that choice to pivot. Um, uh, in the comments, there has been a haiku that's been added. Dualistic unity, a haiku. Two halves of one whole. In their dance, unity found, peace in the contrast. I was like, I love it. Just just so many ways to describe dualistic unity because it is such a paradox and it's so hard to pin into words. But I thought that was a beautiful haiku, um, and I appreciate the shout out. Don't forget to check out this week's episode with Jackie and Amanda, Leaning into Uncertainty, season 6, episode 2, just got released today, I think, actually. It just got released. So it's out there, Jackie. There's no going back. I'm so
yep,
excited.
we're in it. We're in it for the long haul now. No. I sold my soul. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Holy shit. Yeah, I listened to some of it today and I was like, damn, I thought this was a fucking train wreck, but it was fine. Like, and it was actually very, I don't know, like I resonated with the things that I had to say. I was like, wow, it's funny how I always know exactly what I need to hear. So, yeah, go check out that episode. Go check out our previous episodes of Do You Real you've if you've missed any. We do this every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.
And I'm just really happy and excited to be on this journey. And just like the haiku said, like it's so cool just finding the balance of forces and like everything in our lives. Like to like everything is dualistic. Literally every single thing. It's like two sides of the same coin. Existence, non-existence, light, dark, sun, moon. I don't know. Like everything is operating on a spectrum,
Mhm.
and it's so beautiful to see them dance together knowing that neither side is going to win. It's not like bad is going to conquer over good forever or good will conquer over bad forever. And it's just something that we can always count on is that there's there's space to change, and like things are things are constantly balancing themselves out, and at any point within that process, you can look at it and just awe, even if you're on your ass, you know, like even if you're being dragged through this shit, like face down, you can be like, wow, this is really like cosmically beautiful. Like this is this this is the essence of life, and that's what I'm here to soak up, you know, just enjoying all the symbolism of what this experience is, because really that's all that it is, reflecting the deeper truths and intelligence that are
Yeah.
underneath it. And it's so fucking beautiful. But
Mhm.
what do you think, Amanda? You think this is a good spot to wrap up our episode today?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We got in an excellent, amazing chat. If I do want to mention, we are going to be at the California retreat, and we have an amazing contest coming up, or that's out right now. And so, if you create a video and the about dualistic unity, any perspective is applicable. Just the most viral video is going to win a free ticket to the California retreat, and Jackie and I will be there. So we are excited to meet the winner and excited to chat. Daisy and Sophie are going to be there. Don't forget, Ray was a guest on their episode Life on Potted podcast. And so the link is in the comments, and we'll be back next Friday, 4 p.m. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us. It was a blast.
Mhm. Yeah, and special shout out to everybody on Discord who's in the watch party right now.
Oh,
I'm Yeah, I'm gonna stop by after this. Go say hi if y'all are still there. But thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Peace.